Thanks for watching this RTD interview. Don't forget to pick up your RTD Scary George round, only available at stbullion.com. Now enjoy this interview. Welcome to RTD exclusive. Today I'm excited to have a friend of mine from the Medellin area. And so I have Mr. Samir Amin joining us. And so he's currently in the States, but does also live down in Medellin, Colombia. And so I'm glad to have him on the show because a part of me reaching out to him was to get a better understanding of what life is like in Colombia, as well as to give a perspective from the real estate side. So Samir Amin, welcome to this RTD exclusive interview.
Thank you very much, Mike. I'm pleased to be here.
Well, I appreciate you taking time because you're in the office now doing some things. So I appreciate you taking time for me. And so one of the big reasons and just wanting to get a different perspective was, as I mentioned, I was down in Colombia not long ago. And so I had a chance to interview a couple of people. And so your name came up as someone I definitely wanted to connect with. And so I'm glad to have you here. Right. So for those that may not know, can you give us a little bit of your background and how you got into real estate and all the other activities, and in particular with Colombia?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been in the real estate business since I was 21 years old in many different countries. Back in England, I'm in the real estate market. Here in the U.S., I'm still in the real estate market. And so I moved to Colombia about 4 years ago. And the primary reason for moving was looking for somewhere for a change of pace, change of life, somewhere where I could live on $1,500 to $2,000 a month without having the pressure of working in the medical field, very high pressure. So anyway, a good friend of mine, he's been going to Medellin for about 10 years. He's a well-known attorney here in town, Dan Newland, very prominent. He recommended, he said, Sam, I think you should go to Medellin. So that's all he had to say. Did some research on YouTube. I'd been there once previously in 2010, got on an airplane a few days later and went out there with the wife. And at that time I had a 1-year-old and a 2-year-old. So picked up the bags, went out there and had no idea about the real estate market. We were just looking for somewhere to move to really get a better standard of living with great weather. That's number one factor in Medellin. You're surrounded by the mountains in the middle of the Andes, to average temperature 75, 80 degrees during the day all year round. And best of all, at nighttime drops down to 55, 60. Open your windows, no air conditioning needed. Oh, it's beautiful. No artificial air. Leave the windows open, leave your door open. So anyway, ended up buying a place right there in Poblado, Parque Lleras, some blocks away from Parque Lleras. For many of you, if you guys know Medellin, there's a Harley Davidson dealership. I have a beautiful place overlooking with a great view of the mountains for a fraction of the price that we would have paid here in the U.S. So anyway, having said that, I'm now actively involved in real estate business there, both buying and selling, flipping, as well as owning Airbnb rentals for short-term rental. So I've got extensive knowledge in the Medellin market.
All right, sounds good. So I appreciate you for sharing that. And so that's one of the things I was looking to get into, because a part of my adventure there, or a desire to go there, was to get a better understanding of the quality of life. So you referenced that the cost of things is a little bit cheaper. And then also just the fact that the housing prices and things of that nature is unique in nature. And so a lot of the things I focus on happens to be around our economy and the impacts of our economy from the overinflated asset bubbles of real estate here. And I want to get your thoughts on, do you think there's some type of property bubble being formed there, given the fact that a lot of Americans and foreigners realize those same benefits? Perhaps they're flooding and crowding out the market. So based upon your start in the market there, when it comes to purchasing assets in the form of real estate, have you seen a significant increase due to the demand, or is it about the same, or what's your thoughts there?
Right. So in Colombia currently, and in particular Medellin, the way it works is Medellin is number 2 city in Colombia, Bogota being number 1, Cartagena being number 3. The majority of tourists in the past used to land in Bogota, Cartagena. Now they're finding that it's a lot cheaper to come to Medellin. The weather's better, the food's better, cost of living is much, much more economical. Property prices are still very reasonable. For example, right now in Medellin, you're looking at properties that are about a third less than what you'd pay, maybe 40% lower, or you'd pick up a property for a third of the price of what you would in Bogota. And Cartagena is even more expensive. So now the way I see it is the infrastructure of Medellin is substantially better. We've got a metro system. We've got the best transportation system in South America. And if you take that into consideration, the fact that the city is advancing, the fact that we have the infrastructure that they're putting in a lot of money currently into it, it's a no-brainer. The property prices in Medellin should be substantially higher than they are right now, because Bogota has nothing to offer. The weather's cold. The people are miserable. It's extremely expensive to live in. Cartagena is great. We've got a beach there, but the beach is nothing to really admire. I mean, you want to come to beaches, you want to come over here to Orlando, we'll take you over to Clearwater Beach. That's a beach, right? We'll take you to Siesta Key. Now, that's a beach. Cartagena is a piece of water. Yeah. So, but the property prices are almost double, sometimes triple what they are in Medellin. So in answer to your question, with response to that, is there a bubble in the pipeline? Absolutely not. If you look at them, and you can go to a site called Numbeo, numbeo.com. It compares world property prices. If you take a look at that, you will find that compared to a lot of the other cities and in South and Central America, Medellin is still cheap. If you compare it to Brazil, if you compare it to Lima, Peru, if you compare it to San Jose, Costa Rica, if you do your research, you will find, and on that same site, by the way, you can see the property prices in Bogota and Cartagena, and you will find that Medellin is just undervalued. Do I feel that there's a burst in the bubble? Absolutely not. I'm actively and heavily invested in Medellin. I'll be keeping my places, and I wouldn't be surprised if we double in the next 5 to 10 years. And the reason is the demand is substantial, and we've just got a lot of influx of just foreigners from Canada, from Europe. In Europe, all over Europe, the Dutch are coming, the Swiss are coming, the British are coming. We've got the Americans coming. And why? Because you can still make a living on $1,500 US a month, great living, with still a little bit of money left over, with organic food, organic vegetables, gourmet chefs. I mean, you just can't compare the food in South America. The eggs are actually eggs. They're orange in color. They come from the mountains. Everything that they cook in Medellin comes from right up in the hills. They bring it down every Sunday. It's almost unbelievable. So no, the potential is huge. The potential is, I think we're at the tip of the iceberg still. I think it'll continue.
Right. Now, so I'm curious to find out, so if the prices currently in comparison to other areas of Colombia as well as other countries itself is still relatively cheap. So I mean, there's a window of opportunity for those that might be interested in exploring more. And so what are your thoughts on, say, for example, a lot of people say that there's a housing bubble underway or something's about to burst here. California, the East Coast, West Coast is extremely expensive. People are being squeezed out or priced out. And so do you foresee, just from a global standpoint, there being some type of popping of the asset housing bubble that's should be inflated, and possibly the prices in Medellin even going down lower, even though they're not in a bubble, according to your information there? Can you see real estate probably getting cheaper if there's some type of global event where people are forced to sell off or lose their house down there, or would the same effects happen in Medellin as it would be, say, here stateside?
Okay, so my take on it is that currently the Medellin property price appreciation runs about 8 to 9% a year, and that's what it's been running historically. So if we're looking at 8 to 9% increase, and if there is some global factor coming in there, what I would anticipate is maybe a slowdown in the increase or the rate of increase rather than an actual decrease. And there's a reason. There's a lot of professional investors on the sidelines that have got plenty of cash that are just waiting to rake up properties if there's a bargain to be had. And I'm one of them. So if there's a downturn in any market like Medellin, I'd certainly be a buyer. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think that there's going to be an actual drop. There may be a reduction in the appreciation. However, Colombia is experiencing an inflation rate currently of about 6, 7, 8% a year. And it's very common with a country that's developing and growing. In fact, Colombia for the year 2020 has been earmarked as the #1 growth in South America. So they're looking at Colombia to be really a stellar market for the year 2020. And there's a lot of reasons. Foreign investment, the current president, I mean, some people like him, some people don't, but he certainly knows what he's doing. He's encouraging a lot of overseas investment. So, you know, having said that, there may be a little slowdown in the rate of appreciation, but as far as a drop in the capital value of what you paid, I doubt it very much.
Interesting. So I'm also curious to get your thoughts on, so for those that may not have been to, and for those that may not have traveled to Medellin to this point, the stigma of it being Colombia, and then I've also, from videos I've shared on my channel, people reference, I'll never go to Pablo Escobar, it's dangerous there, and it's it's drug lords and coke, all the stain of prior years. And so over the last so how many ever years, I'm sure they've done some rebranding of the image there, but a lot of people outside don't know. What's been your experience there when it comes to safety and things of that nature?
Right. I'm going to give you my exact experience because I've worked in some very dangerous neighborhoods here in Orlando, in the Florida market. Okay. And I'm here to tell you that this is how it works. And it's the same throughout the world. Yes, Medellin was the most dangerous city in the world back in the 1990s. Absolutely. Now, if you look currently at the top 50 most dangerous cities in the world, U.S. has about 11. Detroit, Chicago, L.A., there's a bunch of them. Take a look. It is an available report. Brazil has the most top dangerous cities. Medellin's number 56. It's not even in the top 50 anymore. It's dropped off. So they have rebranded. Yeah, it's amazing. They've rebranded it. Now, I'm going to tell you, though, that it's like everywhere. If you're going out looking for trouble, you're going to find it. I can go out looking for trouble. I'm in Orlando, Florida right now, and everyone thinks of Mickey Mouse and Disney and Universal. Well, I can tell you, I can go half an hour this way, downtown Orlando, into some pretty dangerous neighborhoods that neither me nor you would like to venture into. So the way it works in Medellin is, look, overall, it's extremely safe. I'm there with the wife and the family, with my kids. I could have moved anywhere in the world. I chose Medellin, Colombia, because that stigma is not true. Okay, it was, yes, there's some poverty. You know, you're going to walk around with your Rolex on the street. You're going to get robbed anywhere. I can show you some places here in the U.S. right now that you don't want to be wearing your Rolex, right? I mean, Mike, it's just a fact. It's a fact. You know, keep your money to yourself and you're fine. There's, you know, you go there for the right reasons. And if you get involved in some of that white powder stuff, I'm in the medical field, so I can tell you that that's not a very nice business to be in. And some of our people who go there get involved in some of the white powder. Well, if you're going to play with that stuff, then yeah, you're going to get into some trouble. Family people like me, absolutely safe. I go running every day, even in the night. Obviously, I don't go out after midnight in certain areas. And we stick to the areas that are safe. If you go way up in the mountains, 40 minutes, yeah, you're going to find some areas where they're fighting. But who told you to go up there? None of your business, right? You stay where you should stay and let them figure out what they're doing up in the mountains. Just like you wouldn't go to certain areas of Detroit during the day or south side of Chicago during the day either.
Yeah.
Same concept.
Yeah.
I'm not going south side. Does that mean I'm not going to go to Chicago? I love Chicago. I'm just not going to the south side. Stick to where you know.
Right. And so you mentioned Detroit a couple of times, and that's currently my hometown. So I'm more than aware of where I would not want to go just because I have no business on that side. But so I understand completely when you mention those areas.
Then you exactly know because you're not going there to those neighborhoods either.
Correct. All right. So as we keep moving, I'm curious to find out now, this is just more of a personal opinion because it sounds like there are a lot of opportunities and advantages that can be taken, opportunities that can be taken advantage of as far as lowering your cost of living, new experiences, great weather year-round, good food, all those things that you listed as highlights, which for someone stateside might be open to trying to explore and see. And so, but put yourself in the shoes of a local there, someone who grew up in Colombia and they realized the change of all these foreigners coming into their country now, reaping the benefits of the lower cost of living, the exchange ratio of the currency, things of that nature. Do you think that, you know, if a continual influx of foreigners come in buying up things, eventually I'm assuming that's going to elevate prices a little bit. causing a squeeze on the locals that are already not necessarily, of means? Can you see a time where 5-10 years that come about some resentment to where locals are like, hey, we got too many gringos around, making my life difficult? Could that be a problem, you think, down the line?
Okay. In response to that question, Mike, right now they are very friendly. They love us. Okay. We're bringing economy to them. We're bringing jobs. We're bringing them money. They realize that our tourism and the tax there is, by the way, 19% sales tax. It's none of this 7-8% like we're used to.
Yeah.
That is funding the growth of their city. So right now, no, we're great. I mean, they do like us. They do have an issue with one aspect of us, of the tourism, is that some of our people go there for the sex tourism, and they do have an issue with that. I'm going to tell you straight. They don't want their girls being abused by foreigners, and it's not just us Americans. They're going from all over the world, but you just can't do anything. Prostitution is legal. Okay, so we've just got to be a little clean as far as that's concerned. We've got to respect their women, doesn't matter what they are. But as far as the resentment, as long as we keep clean, I think that we're always going to be welcome there. They really do like us. I don't feel that they have an issue that we're causing some inflation, and no doubt we are. Because, for example, Costa Rica was very cheap many, many years ago, and now it's extremely expensive. And yeah, that is an issue, and they don't like it. The Colombians are very friendly people. They're a different animal. I love the people in Medellin. Locals are called paisas. I've never met a friendlier bunch of people in my life, and I've lived in a lot of places. I grew up in Europe, in London, born in Nairobi, Kenya, Africa. Lived in the U.S., traveled a lot of places around the world. I've never met anybody like a Colombian. I'm just going to tell you straight. And when I say a Colombian, more so the people from Medellin, they are just naturally very nice, friendly, humble. They don't want anything from you. They just want to help you. And I don't see that will be an issue. I think as long as we continue doing what we do and we don't take over their women and that type of stuff, I think that'll be fine.
All right. So my next question is, let's actually talk about some of the actual opportunities there, real estate wise. As far as you have, Medellin is a pretty nice area within the valley. You got the Poblado area, which seems to be the more expensive area because of the touristy, it being more touristy. Then you got the outskirts. And so trying to get an idea as to, according to what you are familiar with, some of the ranges of housing. And so they're all, I guess, condos, apartments style. There's no houses, but give us some of the lay of the land as far as actual real estate itself.
Sure, absolutely. So many, many years ago, Medellin was predominantly houses. Then came in all these property developers about 20 years ago and decided that they're going to buy up homes, tear them down and build apartment blocks, building high-rise apartment blocks. So metropolitan Medellin right now is about 4 million population. That means we're including the outskirts between the Andes, because Medellin is in a valley. If you rotate 360, you will see mountains 360. So if you take the whole metropolitan area, there's a population of about 4 million. Now, Poblado is the most expensive. It's also the most hilly. It's built on some slopes, but it's also the prettiest. The majority of the tourists go to Poblado. The real estate prices are expensive, but you get what you pay for. All the facilities are right there in Poblado. And price per meter squared is how they work. They do not work on price per square foot. So price per meter squared in Poblado ranges from 5,000 peso per meter squared to 7,000 peso per meter squared. So that is for a regular apartment.
Okay, so just to give a little context to that, so 5,000 meters square would be like 5,000 meters square would be $1.50 because it's like 3,300 to 1. So are we around the same area? 5,000?
No, hold on. So can you pause that 1 sec here? I think
okay, no problem.
I think we better start again. Okay, so Mike, as far as the numbers are concerned, look, in Poblado, we're looking at buying anything from about $140 a square foot up to about $170 a square foot. This is for regular type of accommodation, which is long-term rental. It's not for short-term rental. There's a totally different market for short-term rental. And what do I mean by that? The majority of buildings in Medellin, you are not permitted to rent your apartment out by law, by Airbnb, or by the night. You've got to do minimum 30 days, 60 days, 6 month or a year lease. And that is basically, that's the Medellin law. Now, if you're looking at doing short-term rental, because that's the market that I'm in both, actually. I'm in long-term rental and short-term rental. If you're looking at doing short-term rental, the prices are around $200 a square foot. But then again, I'm getting 85, 90% occupancy on my units. That's unheard of. If you tell somebody in the US you're getting 90% occupancy on your Airbnbs, they'll look at you like you're making it up. Well, it's absolutely true. I'm getting 90% all day long. So you're obviously going to pay a little bit more. If you're going out into the outskirts, what are the outskirts? Envigado is beautiful. Envigado is flat. Envigado is very affluent. There's a lot of old money in Envigado. There are some houses available still in Envigado. The prices are probably 130 a square foot, 120 a square foot. So you can get cheaper places out in Envigado. But on the same note, it's not poblado and not everything's walking distance. So you get, that's the difference in the two. You go a little further out towards Sabaneta. Sabaneta, beautiful town. It's got a square where all the cowboys, what we'd consider cowboys, they come from the farms every night. They sit in the square. It's an old village style atmosphere, lovely place. $100 a square foot all day long, maybe even less. That's not flat, that's a little hilly. And then you go out towards Laureles. And Laureles, you can pick up about $100 a square foot right now as well. So Poblado definitely is the most expensive. However, it's also doing the best. Your capital appreciation is the best in Poblado right now. It's close to all the bars, restaurants, all the excitement that's to be had is happening in Poblado. And I'm going to tell you the truth, Poblado is the safest. I don't feel very safe in Laureles. They do come up from the mountains, and with the more gringos and foreigners that come, they realize that they can come down on their motorbike from the mountains, rob somebody and ride back up to the mountains and never be seen. So I don't feel too safe out in Laureles. Envigado is safe, Poblado is safe, and Sabaneta is relatively safe too. But the safety is definitely in Poblado. They've got tremendous police force. There's a cop on every corner, and the mayor of Medellin will not tolerate any type of lapse in security. So, for me, I'm staying in Poblado, and that's where the tourist comes. If you're buying for yourself or whatever, or even if you're buying for rental, it's a lot easier to rent in Poblado. You'll get a tenant right away. The rents are phenomenal, even on long term. You can rent a 2-bedroom, 2-bath for almost 3.5 million per month, which is about $1,300 a month all day long for a 2-bed, 2-bath. Great return.
Interesting. So I'm curious to find out for somebody. So based upon your research and the accumulation of properties that you've been able to put together, let's actually throw out some examples of like size wise, and say if someone, because you mentioned the leasing aspect or the purchasing aspect. So say to purchase in Poblado or outside of Poblado in areas that are relatively safe. I'm sure if you go further where you may not have ventured, you might find even cheaper or opportunities. But give us some numbers as far as 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, 500 square foot or whatever, 70,000, 100,000. What are some ideal prices outside of the actual, the square footages you mentioned?
Absolutely. So, for example, and I'm going to give you the Poblado prices, and you can then extrapolate from there that everywhere else is about 20% cheaper. Okay. Mm-hmm. In Poblado, 2-bedroom, 2-bath in a nice building with good facilities, 24-hour security, your own parking space, square footage, you're looking at around about 1,000, 1,200 square foot, about 150,000, 130 to 150,000 US. Now, you possibly can get 2-bed, 2-bath less than that. However, having said that, if it's a 2-bed, 2-bath, and you're looking to spend less than 130,000, then you're going to have to put some money into it, okay? Because it's going to be old. It's going to be Colombian style. The Colombians are not big on remodel. They buy them, they leave them. The faucets are old. The kitchen's old. They don't normally work in the kitchen. They have a nanny or a maid or somebody. So if you want something American standard, and that's what my places are, about 150,000 for a 2-bedroom, 2-bath. Maybe pick it up 130,000. I mean, there are ways of picking up. We've got ways of picking them up on distressed sales as well, so you can probably get a little lower. If you're getting bigger than that, for example, a 3 or 4 bed, you're looking at around about 180,000 US. And, you know, you may need to put a little bit of money into it. But labor, the good news is labor is extremely cheap in Colombia. So you're not talking about the type of labor prices that we're paying and used to paying here in the US. Mm-hmm. They work for nothing. The minimum wage, for example, Mike, is only $285 a month all day long. So you can see that you can get your own contractor and keep him for the whole month for $280. So it's dirt cheap.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what I did to a lot of my units. Bought them on the low and fixed them up and did them up my way. Now, for example, the high end, I have my personal apartment that I live in, which is 3,300 square foot, 5-bedroom, 5-bath, right there in Parque Lleras. I put in about 130,000 US dollars in repair. I tore the whole place up, started again, and all upscale LEDs, new floors, new ceilings, European upscale kitchen, laundry room, probably worth right now in US about 450,000 US. Still not bad, because that's on the 8th floor, 1 apartment per floor. You come out of the elevator and there's my place. No neighbors and the most beautiful unobstructed views of the mountains. 450,000, not bad. You can't get anything like that in the US for less than, I'd probably say, $1 million or more. Okay, so even the large properties are very good value.
Interesting. Now, I'm curious to find out, as we get ready to wrap up, is there anything that I may not have mentioned that will be worthy of talking about that will give people a better understanding of what's life like in Colombia, in particular Medellin, that will be of benefit to mention? Anything come to mind that you might want to share?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I'm here to tell you that you're going to just go with an open mind. The Spanish culture is not the American culture. They're very laid back, okay? They're very relaxed, Mike. So you can't expect your food to come out very quickly in the restaurant. Well, very simple. When I go to restaurants, I take a bag of peanuts with me. I munch away. I drink a double vodka, and 45 minutes later, there comes the food. But it's worth the wait. Yeah. It's gourmet food. Yeah. So, you know, there's things about the culture. For example, you go to the driver's license office, and you'll be there most of the day. By the time they figure it all out, well, guess what? That's why they live longer. So culturally, you got a lot to learn from them. They're eating all that beautiful organic food. They don't get stressed. You can regularly see an 85, and I'm in the medical field, and I can tell you it doesn't happen here in the US. You regularly see 85, 90-year-old man or woman walking on the street with their back upright and no walking stick and no walker and no nothing. Whereas majority of our patients here after the age of 70 are finished. So it's a stress. Lovely lifestyle. Get used to the relaxed. Everything there is mañana. Mañana, for any of you who don't speak Spanish, and I speak Spanish, and I'm going to get into that next. Mañana means tomorrow. Everything is tomorrow. They don't care. They live longer. And so get used to it. If you think you're going to call the manager and complain to customer service, forget it. They don't really care because the manager's on vacation and he's relaxing too. So it's a great lifestyle, you know, and we've got to learn from it. You know, we absolutely, our pace here in the US is we're go, go, go. It's all about the adrenaline. We're killing ourselves and we're taking 10 to 12 medications after the age of 70. Whereas over there, they're walking in the mountains and fresh air and they're eating all that great food and they're sitting with their family and enjoying life. So that's the first thing. Second of all, my recommendation to you is take some basic Spanish classes if you're planning on living there. If you're planning on moving there, you're going to have to speak a little bit of Spanish because guess what? They're not speaking any English, right? Anytime soon. Why? It's their country. They don't have to. They're not interested. Okay, so in Poblado, you might get a couple of stragglers who'll speak some English, but overall, get a little bit of basic. It doesn't cost a lot. Get a couple of books from the bookstore. Learn the basic words you can order at the restaurant. You can get your way around the airport. You can get your way on a bus. The transportation system's phenomenal. I love it. I grew up in London, England. Transportation system is just like in England. You can get anywhere cheap. Taxis are cheap. Ubers, cheap. $1.50 almost get anywhere. So, you know, that's my advice is a little bit of Spanish, get used to the culture, get used to the easygoing lifestyle, and do what they do. Go to the coffee shop every day, morning and evening, relax, and don't worry about everything else. Put everything else on the back burner.
Yeah. Yeah. And I will also say from my experience there, make sure you work on your salsa and your porchetta because I need some work. So, but I had a great time attempting to go out there and, shake a little something. So, Sam, it's been great having you join us and sharing some insight into life down in Medellin and opportunities there. Definitely look forward to connecting again and hopefully having a chance to meet you down there because I talked with George and would like to venture down and probably have something. We're down there myself one of these days. So definitely thank you for joining me and sharing some insight on RTD.
Absolutely. Thank you. Bye-bye.